the thing with the families maybe getting too big is it's probably against the top family's best interest to even get too big, because at a certain point the pulse will be spread so thin that it's like the juice just might not be worth the squeeze to be like locked into this game and playing and monitoring all day long. They would just be like, well, no point. So that's probably like a invisible restraint.
There's also incentive for inter-family conflict as well. You know, if you're 4 and you're getting, 10 million pulse a week, but number 3 is getting, 30 million, whatever it is, at the different times, maybe you have personal incentive to spend your time, energy, navigating your family and the other families that are out there in a way that there's also going to be checks and balances within families to help keep them healthy, because so that's another element to consider.
Can I kill my own family members? Because
you can absolutely have it. You can kill your own Don.
Right.
And even if you couldn't, which I believe that's an explicit,
and then you become the Don. That's it. Yeah.
Well,
we even
explicitly baked into the game mechanics.
Is going to get hit by me, so fair warning.
And then even if you couldn't, there would still be, the thoughtful person. It would only take them 2 seconds to say, well, I can't, but my alt or this other person that I have a relationship with in another family, I could set up a contract or a negotiation. And that's where the personal element comes into play, because there's the code and then there's humans who are executing the code. So it's not a static thing. It's a dynamic thing with incentives and protocols to give us all options to see what we're going to do with it. It's fun.
That's crazy. I'm going to be so pissed if someone just kills me from my family. The guy right below me just takes me out.
It's an incentive to also keep healthy, positive relationships with your family members, and not just to rest on your laurels and be, maybe you did something and you're coasting off of inertia of something that you did before. In special operations communities, everybody's already done some badass shit to get there. So the question that we ask, the question that's asked when they're in the room together with one another is, what have you done lately? Like, why should I listen to you? What have you done lately? Everybody here has done something awesome. What have you done lately? So it's an incentive to keep that energy and that flow healthy as well, because you want to have good relationships.
It's like the prisoner's dilemma, like
that's a great game theory. Actually, using game theory the correct way.
Even if you feel that way, even if you feel like, what have you done for me lately? The reality is that when people start defecting, everyone loses. Like every single person, it's just like a race to the bottom.
That's a leadership. So that is the leadership burden. If you are going to be bold enough to take on the mantle of being a leader, whether it's as a Don or a sub class of that, or as a game developer or as a community leader, the burden of responsibility is on how are you going to steward your garden. And the story of the Garden of Eden, and that Richard has told us all in many different ways, is that no matter how, you want to have a walled garden, but you do want to have a walled garden. It is a worthy goal to aim towards. However, it's also useful to understand that no matter how beautiful your garden is, even the literal Garden of Eden made by the, at least metaphorical ideal of perfection that people call God, so their idealization of that, the snakes come from within. So you can have the tallest walls that there is, but the snakes are going to come from within. And that boils down to within your own family, and it boils down to within your own life. You want to look for the source of the root of all of your problems? Just go look in the mirror. It's the choices that you've made. It's what you've done. The snakes have come from within, and you tell yourself a bunch of different stories to justify or evade or dodge or take accountability for the choices that you've made. But, and that decides what other choices are open to you and where you get to go from there. But you want to build what we're trying to do is build a healthy ecosystem within ourselves, within the game, within the blockchain, within the culture, where people are incentivized to relate to one another in healthier ways. At least that's one idea that I'm proposing as why I'm here spending my time doing this.
Well, yeah, like in nature, everything trends towards cooperation, and just through just through evolutionary pressure, people who defect, like in Prisoner's Dilemma, or do the antisocial thing to enrich themselves over the group, they usually die out. But I don't really know how that would happen in the game. But I guess it's just like everyone loses. Like as soon as the first family member fires a shot at another family member, like someone else will do it, and someone else, and then it'll just be like cascading effect, I think.
Well, there's different also sacrifices that must be made during a situation like that. So those at the top would have responsibility to adhere to a corporal mentality.
Or at least an effective leadership style if they want to keep it.
Would you know if a family member, like, so let's say they didn't solicit someone else from another family or didn't use an alt character, would you know who'd killed you? Does it work like that?
It depends on how they implement the detective agency and the witness modifiers, right? Because the witness is going to be based on crimes and or actions based in the game. And then all of those game movements are theoretically recorded, on Pulse Chain. So yeah, you technically could have someone like Gift that could snoop that number ID for what action that is, have that be itemized, and then know exactly what happened where and where that particular inflection of whatever it was handled from. And so
you can do this on the blockchain. You can like go to the scanner and figure out exactly what happened.
There will be things that will be figured out from the blockchain, and we don't know yet. That's the big answer. Is since it's still in development, we don't know what's going to be written to the blockchain yet. But we do know that information will be written to the blockchain in which clever people will be able to discern things that may or may not have been intended as that being an access path to that data or that knowledge or that information, which is a value in and of itself, at least as far as it is helping you or your family to navigate the economic landscape that we all have before us in the past that are before us. So there are a lot of unknowns in the, I don't want the TLDR on this. I don't want you to take away any like for sure knowns, but there's a lot of positive speculation that we could bring up at this point. So.